Welcome to The Deep Dive, the show where we distill complex information into surprising nuggets of knowledge to help you cut through the noise and become truly well-informed.
And today, we're tackling a really big question, aren't we?
We are. How do we genuinely understand and achieve progress?
Yeah, whether that's, in our personal lives, our careers.
Or even just how we collectively grasp the world around us, what actually drives that forward movement?
And, importantly, how do we even start to measure it? It's a powerful question.
It really is.
Because progress isn't just about, drifting forward. It's about doing it intentionally.
Right.
And our deep dive today pulls from a super diverse range of sources. We're talking philosophy, human behavior studies.
Practical stuff, too, like personal development strategies, even organizational design.
Absolutely. The mission here is to kind of uncover how we define progress and, maybe more crucially, how we achieve it.
Through structured understanding and deliberate action.
Exactly. We'll look at how we think we gain knowledge, how we can actively shape our own success.
And how organizations actually set up systems to foster growth for everyone involved.
And, it really all kicks off with how we decide what knowledge even means in the first place.
That makes sense. To understand progress, we need the foundations how we seek truth.
Precisely.
So let's maybe unpack this with a look at a hugely influential philosophy. Positivism.
Okay.
At its core, positivism basically argues that all genuine knowledge comes from one of two places.
That's right. Either is true just by definition, philosophers call these analytic propositions.
Like all bachelors are unmarried.
Exactly. Or it's derived directly from empirical sensory experience. Things we can observe, measure. A posteriori facts.
And what's really striking is that positivism tends to dismiss other ways of knowing.
Yeah, things like intuition, gut feelings, introspection, even religious faith, often seen as
meaningless.
Pretty much from a strict positivist standpoint. The name itself, positivism, comes from the Latin positus.
Meaning to place or to put.
Right. It refers to rules or facts that are posited, established by humans, not discovered floating out there.
And its historical impact, especially in sociology, has been massive.
Oh, definitely. We trace its modern roots back to the early 19th century with Auguste Comte.
Often called the founder of modern positivism.
He really believed in this grand theory of societal evolution. He called it the law of three stages.
Okay, what were they?
First, the theological phase. Think ancient times belief in divine explanations, society governed by religious authority.
Makes sense. Stage one.
Then came the metaphysical phase. Comte saw this running from, say, the Enlightenment up to the French Revolution.
So a shift towards ideas like universal rights, logic, rationalism.
Exactly. Moving away from purely divine causes, but still abstract,
Got it. And the final stage?
That was his goal. The positive or scientific phase. Here, individual rights are key, and humanity governs itself using science.
So science becomes the ultimate authority.
Pretty much. Comte argued that the physical sciences had to mature first, paving the way for social science.
And he saw sociology as the pinnacle.
He called it the queen science, yeah. He genuinely believed it would lead to improving society. His motto sums it up perfectly.
Which was?
From science comes prediction. From prediction comes action. Very forward-looking.
And that idea really caught on in some places, didn't it?
It did. Look at Brazil's national motto, Ordem e Progresso.
Order and progress.
Directly inspired by Comte's positivism. Though, interestingly, Comte later developed a kind of secular religion of humanity, which is a whole other story.
Okay, so Comte laid the groundwork. Who picked it up from there in sociology?
A key figure was Emil Durkheim. He's really central to modern academic sociology.
And he refined Comte's ideas.
He did. He kept the core scientific method, but really solidified sociology's place. He argued social sciences were just a logical continuation of the natural sciences.
Still emphasizing objectivity, rationalism.
Absolutely. His famous work, The Rules of the Sociological Method, from 1895, states it clearly.
What did it say?
Our main goal is to extend scientific rationalism to human conduct. What has been called our positivism is but a consequence of this rationalism.
Wow. So he was really doubling down on the scientific approach.
He was, and he introduced this crucial concept of social facts.
Social facts, what are those?
Think of them as objective phenomena, external to any single individual that actually constrain our behavior.
Like laws, or marriage rates, crime statistics.
Exactly. Things that exist independently of you or me, but shape society. And he argued they should be studied with the same rigor as, say, physics studies gravity.
Okay, so positivism emphasizes observable facts for knowledge. You mentioned sociology, but did this structured way of thinking influence other fields?
Oh, absolutely. Hugely influential in how we understand law. That brings us to legal positivism.
Right. So applying that same core idea to the legal world.
Precisely. Legal positivism is a theory in jurisprudence, the philosophy of law. It argues that whether a law exists and what it says depends purely on social facts.
Social facts again. So things like what a legislature passed or how judges have ruled, customs.
Exactly those things, and not on whether the law is morally good or bad.
Ah, okay. So a law's validity isn't tied to its morality. It's valid because it was created through the accepted procedures.
That's the core idea. Even if you think a law is unjust, if it was enacted by the proper authority within that legal system, a legal positivist would say it's still a valid law.
That's a sharp contrast to natural law theories, then.
Huge contrast. Natural law thinkers argue there's an inherent link between law and morality. Legal positivism says, nope, law is a human creation separate from moral judgments.
Who were the key thinkers here?
Well, you could trace it back to folks like Thomas Hobbes, who basically saw law as the command of the sovereign.
Makes sense. The boss says it, it's law.
Kind of. Then Jeremy Bentham really emphasized distinguishing between expositors, those who explain what the law is, and censors, those who critique what it ought to be. Keep them separate.
John Austin built on that with his command theory too, right?
Yeah, laws as commands from a sovereign who isn't commanded by anyone else, backed by sanctions, and generally obeyed. Though he also noted things like rules that invalidate contracts, a sanction of nullity.
And later thinkers refined this.
Definitely. Hans Kelsen tried to separate law not just from morality, but even from empirical facts. He talked about legal norms, statements about what ought to happen legally, and the ultimate source of validity being a hypothetical basic norm or Grund norm.
That sounds quite abstract.
It is. Maybe more influential practically was H.L.A. Hart. He criticized Austin's simple command idea.
What was Hart's big contribution?
He distinguished between primary rules, the ones that govern our conduct, like don't steal.
Basic do's and don'ts.
Right. And secondary rules, which are rules about the primary rules. How we recognize them, how we change them, how we apply them.
Okay, like rules about how Parliament passes a law.
Exactly. Hart identified 3 types. The rule of recognition, how we know what counts as law in our system.
Like looking for the Queen's assent on an act in the UK, maybe?
Sort of, yeah. Then the rule of change, how laws are amended or repealed. And the rule of adjudication, how courts settle disputes about the rules.
And these aren't moral rules.
Nope. They're the operating system for the law itself. Joseph Raz, another key figure, went even further, arguing the validity of law can never depend on morality. That's exclusive legal positivism.
Ah, so there are different flavors. Inclusive versus exclusive?
Yeah, basically. Inclusive positivism says moral criteria can sometimes be incorporated into the rule of recognition, while exclusive says never. But both agree law is a human creation, the social thesis, and distinct from morality, the separation thesis.
It really forces you, the listener, to think about legal authority differently, doesn't it? Separating what the law is from your feelings about what it should be.
It's a very pragmatic, fact-focused way to look at legal systems. But, like any big idea, positivism didn't go unchallenged.
Right, this idea of pure objectivity, purely empirical knowledge, it came under fire.
Big time. Philosophically, one major critique came from Willard Van Orman Quine. His paper, Two Dogmas of Empiricism, really shook things up.
What were the dogmas he attacked?
He challenged that clean split positivists made between analytic truths, true by definition, and synthetic truths, empirical facts. He argued meaning and fact are much more tangled up.
How so?
Well, it connects to this idea of theory-laden observation. The point is, we don't just passively soak up raw data from the world through our senses.
Our observation is active, influenced by what we already believe.
Exactly. It's proactive, shaped by our existing theories, expectations, even our language. As one source puts it, observations do not speak for themselves.
Which implies there's no perfectly neutral way to observe or describe the world.
Pretty much. Our culture, our assumptions, the scientific theories we hold, they all influence what we see and how we interpret it. You could, in theory, have endless different interpretations of the same observation.
That really opens the door for other approaches then.
It does. It led to movements like anti-positivism, particularly in German sociology, with figures like Max Weber.
What was their angle?
They emphasized the importance of human culture, values, subjective meanings, things positivism tended to sideline. Weber argued sociologists often look for understanding, Verstehen, rather than just the kind of universal ahistorical laws natural scientists seek.
Okay, so a different goal for social science. What about Karl Popper?
Popper's contribution was huge. He developed critical rationalism. He argued strongly against verificationism.
The idea that you prove theories by finding confirming evidence?
Right. Popper said you can't definitively prove all swans are white just by seeing lots of white swans. You'd have to see every swan past, present, and future.
Impossible.
Exactly. So instead, he championed falsifiability. The key feature of a scientific theory isn't that it can be proven true, but that it could be proven false.
How does that work?
Finding just one black swan instantly falsifies the theory all swans are white. Popper believes scientific theories genuinely try to describe reality, but they're always provisional. They hold up only until they're falsified.
That's a really different take on scientific progress.
It is. And then you have the Duhem-Quine thesis, which adds another layer of complexity.
Okay, what's that?
It basically says you can never test a scientific hypothesis in complete isolation.
Why not?
Because any test relies on a whole network of background assumptions about your instruments, about other laws of nature, etc. So if an experiment fails, you don't necessarily know if the hypothesis itself is wrong or if one of those background assumptions was off.
So clear-cut falsification is difficult too.
It makes it much harder, yeah. Unambiguous falsifications are tricky.
And Thomas Kuhn added to this picture with paradigm shifts.
Right. Kuhn, in The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, argued that science doesn't always progress smoothly by just adding new facts or falsifying theories one by one.
What happens instead?
He suggested that sometimes anomalies pile up results that just don't fit the dominant scientific paradigm or worldview. Eventually, this can lead to a scientific revolution, a paradigm shift, where the entire framework for understanding that field changes. Think Copernicus or Einstein.
So it's not just theories changing, but the whole way of looking at things.
Exactly. And then, especially after World War II, you get critiques from the Frankfurt School thinkers like Horkheimer, Habermas. They were part of critical theory.
What was their issue with positivism?
They were deeply critical of what they saw as instrumental rationality. Science being used merely as a tool, potentially becoming an ideology itself without questioning the ends it serves.
So science not as a pure search for truth, but potentially as a tool for power or control.
That was a major concern. They rejected the positivist idea that if something can't be known scientifically, it can't be known at all. They stressed the difference between scientific findings and how we interpret and use them.
Did they challenge the idea of universal laws in social science too?
Very much so. They argued that seeking universal, unchanging laws oversimplifies complex social realities. And they strongly rejected the idea of a theory-neutral observation language.
Back to that idea that all observation is theory-laden.
Yes. They argued all inquiry is shaped by culture, assumptions, theories, and crucially, they rejected the strict separation of facts and values, especially in social science. They believed social science must engage with values, with questions of justice and emancipation.
It seemed like a lot of different angles were questioning this strict positivist view.
Absolutely. Even physicists like Werner Heisenberg reportedly distanced himself, suggesting focusing only on what can be clearly observed and stated might leave out everything interesting, reducing science to trivial tautologies.
And other philosophical critiques too.
Sure. The Catholic Encyclopedia, for instance, argued positivism never actually proves that there are no abstract ideas or realities beyond purely observable material facts. It just assumes it.
So where does that leave positivism today? Has it just disappeared?
Not entirely, but strong versions of it, especially logical positivism, have largely fallen out of favor, particularly in the social sciences. What emerged is often called post-positivism.
Post-positivism, is that a rejection of science?
No, more like a reformation. Post-positivists still believe in a reality external to our minds and value the scientific method, but they relax some of the stricter claims.
How so?
They acknowledge that observation is fallible and theory-laden. They recognize that researchers bring biases. They understand knowledge is socially constructed to some extent, but they still strive for objectivity as a regulatory ideal.
So a more nuanced view of science.
Exactly. It acknowledges the limits and complexities, but doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Post-positivism accepts both quantitative and qualitative methods as valid ways to understand the world.
Which is interesting because you often see quantitative research almost equated with positivism in some discussions.
Right. It often gets associated with higher prestige or perceived trustworthiness because of the numbers. But qualitative approaches offer that rich, in-depth understanding of lived experiences that numbers alone can miss.
So all these challenges to pure objectivity, they raise really important questions for us, don't they? About the nature of truth and knowledge.
Definitely. How do you navigate information, especially about complex human behavior, knowing that complete objectivity might be an illusion?
And that you probably need multiple methods, multiple perspectives to get a fuller picture.
Precisely. The surprising insight, maybe, is that if the world isn't just handing us objective truths on a platter.
Then the responsibility shifts more towards us.
Exactly. The burden of action, the responsibility for interpreting, for shaping our reality, for making progress, falls much more squarely on our shoulders.
Which means we have to be active participants.
We do.
Yeah.
And that perfectly transitions us to the next piece of the puzzle, proactivity.
Taking the steering wheel. It feels like, whether we're talking philosophy or just everyday life, this idea of being active versus passive keeps coming up.
It really does. Proactivity essentially means assuming an active role in making things happen, taking initiative rather than just reacting to circumstances.
Can you give an analogy?
Sure. Think about driving. A proactive driver checks the weather, plans the route, anticipates traffic jams or potential hazards. They're making intentional choices.
Versus a reactive driver who just speeds up, slams the brakes, swerves when something happens right in front of them.
Exactly. The proactive driver is trying to shape the journey. The reactive one is just responding. The deep insight here is that proactivity shifts your psychological stance. You move from feeling like a passenger in your life to being the driver.
And this actually makes a difference.
Oh, research shows it has a strong impact. Career success, job satisfaction, even mental health outcomes tend to be better for proactive people.
Why is that?
Proactive individuals tend to perform better at work, they contribute more innovative ideas, they solve problems before they escalate. They're essentially taking ownership.
The good news, I hope, is that this isn't just something you're born with.
Definitely not. Proactivity is largely a learnable skill. It can be consciously developed and strengthened.
How? What psychological factors are involved?
Research often links it to three key concepts. First, self-efficacy.
That's believing in your own ability to succeed at something specific.
Right, your confidence in your competence for a particular task or challenge. Second, having a growth mindset.
The idea that skills aren't fixed, but can be developed through effort and learning.
Precisely. Seeing mastery as a journey, not a destination you either reach or don't. Failures are learning opportunities.
And the third,
Future focus. This is about having a vision for your future self, or your future work self. That vision then guides your actions in the present.
Okay, so if we want to boost our own proactivity, what can we actually do? Are there strategies?
Yes. Based on those concepts, we can outline about 5 key strategies. First one, set SMART goals.
Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. We hear that a lot.
We do. But the deeper insight isn't just the acronym. It's about making your destination so crystal clear that it actually informs your very first step. It connects to what Stephen Covey said.
To begin with the end in mind.
It means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. That clarity fuels proactive steps. Break the goal down, plan the actions, really envision success.
Okay, strategy 1. Smart goals with clear vision. What's next?
Second, approach those goals with a growth mindset specifically to anticipate obstacles and build resilience.
So don't just hope for the best, but actually expect challenges.
Exactly. View potential setbacks or failures not as signs you should quit, but as inevitable parts of the learning process. Anticipating them is actually a strategic advantage. You can plan contingencies.
Makes sense. Be prepared. Third strategy.
Believe in yourself and actively strengthen your self-efficacy. This isn't just wishful thinking.
How do you do it actively?
Make a point to acknowledge your past accomplishments, big or small. Surround yourself with supportive people who believe in you. Find positive role models. And consciously challenge negative self-talk when it pops up. Build that internal confidence.
Okay. Fourth.
Actively seek out opportunities. Don't just wait for things to fall into your lap.
Be a go-getter.
Essentially, yes. The insight here is that you often have to create your own path. Embrace calculated risks. Try new experiences. Put yourself out there. Don't wait passively for an invitation to progress.
Be the agent, not the object. And the final strategy.
Fifth, consistently envision your future success. Cultivate that future-focused mindset we mentioned.
Like visualization.
Yes. Regularly take time to vividly imagine achieving your goals and aspirations. Let that compelling future vision pull you forward and guide your present actions. This is a great quote.
Go on.
The future is not some place we are going to, but one we are creating. That active creation part is key.
That's powerful. And this idea of proactivity, it's not just for careers, right? It applies elsewhere.
Absolutely. It's relevant across the lifespan. For instance, there's a model focused on successful aging called the Comprehensive Preventive Corrective Proactive Model, or PCP model.
PCP model for aging. How does proactivity fit in there?
Well, the model starts from the premise that as people age, they naturally encounter certain normative age-related stressors.
Things like declining health, maybe losing friends or partners, maybe their home not fitting their needs anymore.
Exactly. Health issues, social losses, changes in person-environment fit. The core idea of the PCP model is that making proactive behavioral adaptations is absolutely crucial for maintaining a positive quality of life despite these stressors.
So it's about how people respond proactively to the challenges of aging.
Precisely. The model looks at these stressors, the desired quality of life outcomes, things like subjective well-being, life satisfaction, meaning maintaining activities and relationships.
Positive stuff.
Right. And it considers the resources people have, both external, like finances and social support, and internal resources.
Like optimism.
Yeah.
Self-esteem. A belief they can influence things.
Exactly. Optimism, self-esteem, altruism, helping others can be a resource, effective coping strategies, future orientation, and that internal locus of control you mentioned.
Okay, so stressors, outcomes, resources. Where do the proactive actions come in?
They are the cornerstones, the behavioral adaptations. The model splits them into two main types, preventive and corrective.
Preventative sounds like acting before a problem gets big.
It is. Things like health promotion, adopting healthy lifestyles early on, planning ahead for future care needs or engaging activities, even helping others can be preventive, strengthening social networks, or making an anticipatory move, like relocating to a more suitable home before mobility becomes a major issue.
And corrective adaptations, that's responding once a stressor is already happening.
Yes. Things like role substitution, finding new meaningful roles after retirement or bereavement, actively marshaling support, not just waiting for help, but proactively seeking it, making environmental modifications at home to prevent falls or make aging in place easier, and proactive illness management, really engaging in self-care and advocating for yourself after a diagnosis.
The real insight here seems to be that even when facing inevitable age-related challenges, our proactive choices make a huge difference in our quality of life.
It really underscores the power of intentional self-management throughout our entire lives. It's not just about reacting, it's about adapting proactively.
Now, if we take that same spirit, structured, proactive, intentional, and apply it not just to individuals, but to how organizations function.
Then we get into the realm of progression frameworks.
Right. These are essentially clear plans for how employees can grow and advance within a company.
Exactly. Structured models that lay out the skills, the knowledge, the behaviors, even the experiences someone needs to move up the ladder.
Why are these so important for organizations?
Well, one source suggested having clear progression frameworks can literally make or break an organization.
Really? That sounds dramatic.
It can be, especially for companies in rapid growth phases or ones that rely heavily on developing internal talent. Without a clear structure, progress can feel chaotic, misaligned.
And eventually just stall out. People don't know how to get ahead, so they get stuck or leave.
Precisely. A good framework prevents that. It outlines structured growth and development.
What are the typical pieces of one of these frameworks?
Usually you'll see a few key components. First, competency levels. These are the milestones, maybe from intern or junior associate up to senior levels, director, VP, maybe even CEO.
Like rungs on the ladder.
Kind of. Second, roles. Within each level, there might be different specific positions. For example, at a VP level, you could have VP of product, VP of sales, VP of engineering. Different roles, similar level of seniority.
Okay, levels and roles. What else?
Third, core competencies. These are the fundamental skills and behaviors needed for success pretty much across the board in that company or field. Things like communication, analytical thinking, maybe leadership potential, negotiation skills.
Foundational stuff.
Right. And fourth, specialized skills. This is the technical or domain-specific expertise needed for a particular role.
Like, for someone in talent acquisition, maybe it's designing a sourcing strategy or being expert at candidate assessment.
Exactly. Skills specific to that function.
So what are the big benefits of having this all laid out clearly?
For employees, it provides a clear roadmap for their career development. They can see where they are, what skills they need to build.
And where they could potentially go within the company. It shows them a future.
Absolutely. It helps them gauge their current skill set against expectations and identify concrete areas for improvement. The deep insight is that it transforms career progression from something murky and potentially frustrating.
Into a clear, understandable, and hopefully attainable journey. It combats that feeling of chaos and replaces it with structure.
Exactly. It makes growth intentional and predictable rather than accidental.
So, whether you're thinking about your own career path or maybe even how things work in your organization, understanding these principles of structured progression, it seems really valuable.
It can be incredibly powerful for fostering that intentional growth we've been talking about.
Wow. What an incredible journey we've covered today. It feels like we've gone from the grandest philosophical questions to really practical strategies.
We really have. We kick things off with positivism, that philosophical quest for objective knowledge based on empirical facts,
Tracing its history, its influence on sociology and law.
but also digging into the powerful critiques that challenge that idea of pure objectivity. From Quine, Popper, Kuhn, the Frankfurt School.
Revealing that truth and objectivity are maybe more complex, more evolving concepts than we might initially think.
Definitely. Then we shifted to the individual level, exploring the intentional pursuit of success through proactivity.
Breaking down how that proactive mindset, combined with learnable strategies like setting smart goals and building self-efficacy, can really shape our careers and well-being.
Moving us from just reacting to actually creating our own paths.
And finally, we scaled that up to organizations, looking at progression frameworks.
Seeing how structured roadmaps for skills and roles can foster development, prevent stagnation, and make collective progress a tangible, designed process within a company.
It really seems like there's a common thread, doesn't it?
I think so. Whether we're trying to understand the world scientifically, navigate our own lives and the challenges of aging, or build thriving teams.
The core idea seems to be about defining our path, understanding the forces at play, both internal and external.
And then taking deliberate, informed, proactive action.
Which leads us to a final thought, a kind of provocation for you, the listener. Consider this. How might embracing that proactive, structured mindset, whether it's in how you approach learning something new, your personal development goals, or even mapping out your career progression, how might that do more than just prepare you for the future?
How might it actually empower you to actively create the future you desire? Think about the next challenge you face. How could adopting this deliberate, proactive, structured approach transform how you tackle it?
Something to mull over. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time.